There we go.
Okay, we're live. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thank you guys for being here. We're so excited to have Kandi. I always want to sing, I want candy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
Aaron Carter was my jam, man. Back in the day, I loved it.
I know.
I knew
so
every
go ahead
word
and comment
to
and let us
the
know that
party
you're
one.
here. Okay, we got some here via Nicki.
Oh, Alicia, that's my friend and neighbor.
Hi, Alicia.
Ooh. Lizelle. Monica.
Aw.
Tori.
So many.
Oh, there she is. There's Sam.
Sam.
All right, figured before we get into questions.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Diane. I didn't expect it to happen in the first minute, but
I love it. I just love it.
Whoops. Technical difficulties.
there
Here
she is.
comes.
Okay.
We will persevere.
They always
Funny.
happen.
There you are.
Guys, I knew it would happen. I knew it would happen.
Welcome back.
I'm here. Can you see me good? Am I lagging?
No, you're good.
fine.
You're good.
You're good.
Okay. So let's say our name and our channel and then your favorite candy book. Yeah?
Yeah.
Nicki, you want to start?
I'm Nicki. I'm from Nicki and Bookland, and oh gosh, my favorite book. Your new ones are killing it, but I have to go with the OG, and that's A Love Letter to Whiskey.
Nice. Good pick.
I'm
Jess?
Jessica from Peace Love Books. So A Love Letter to Whiskey is my favorite, but a close second is this What He Doesn't Know Duet. I always forget what it's actually called, but
Yes.
one of my favorites.
No, you were right. It was
I love
published
that one.
originally as the What He Doesn't Know duet, and then when the
Okay.
third book came out, I
Yes.
changed it to the Best Kept Secrets series.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can never remember. I can never doesn't know.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Caitlin.
I am Caitlin, the love librarian, and it should come to no surprise. My favorite series is the PSU series. All these gorgeous tabs you can't see, but I
Yes.
fell in love with this series. Just yeah, it's all hands down my favorite candy series right now.
Love it. Thank you.
I know. I still have to read that one.
Oh, you would
Oh,
love
Not
it.
yet. I know. I love a good college.
I
Okay,
will
so
reread it with you.
let's do it.
Let us do it.
Let's see. I love all your books. Well, my favorite recent one is Fair Catch because Zeke is
Oh.
he's amazing. But I think my overall favorite is On the Way to You. I think that's 1000% my favorite. Yeah.
That's one of
You
my
like that one
favorites
too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you like it,
Thank you.
obviously.
Yeah. It's
Let's
so
see,
hard
we
though
have
because I get. Oh, love you too, nerd girl, Sylvia. Yeah, I always get like the question that's like the number one question, right? That anytime I do a podcast or an interview, they're like, well, what's your favorite book you've ever written? And I'm like, I'm up to 32 now. It used to be easy to do. It used to be easy to say like On the Way to You or A Love Letter to Whiskey. Those were definitely the top two that stuck out. But I have a lot now that are kind of like my favorites for different reasons. So I'm like, well, it depends on what mood I'm in, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
32.
I think what?
Crazy.
What?
Yeah.
32. I didn't know you were up to 32. That's nuts.
That's amazing.
32. It's insane. Yeah. Blindside was my 30 or wait, 31st, 32nd, 31st or 32nd, one of those. But yeah.
I agree. PSU was one of the best.
Oh, y'all, that means so much to me because I know Jess has heard me tell this story because I used to talk about it a lot, but Palm South University is kind of like what I consider my passion project. And what I mean by that is that when I started writing it, people were like, I don't think that I trust you enough to like do this serialized thing where you read an episode at a time, because that's how it used to release back in the day. So every Tuesday a new episode would come out, and then at the end of the season, I would box everything together, and then it would be like Palm South University season 1, which is now Rush book 1, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, but then like things got going, and I was like, okay, I'll start publishing them as just books again instead of doing the episodic. And
I want those covers. I want
the original.
Yeah, those are cool covers.
The original. I have like 2. Well, I'll show you guys later, but I have like the original were with girls on the covers, and they kind of emulated Black number 4. So, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for season 2.
Jealous.
So, but I love them, and I love that group of characters. That's the longest series I've ever written, and most of my readers have not read it. So it's heartbreaking, but I'm so happy when people read them. That's why, like, Caitlin, when you bought them in Nashville, I was like, yes.
It's like a candy store. I'm working my way through it, but I have questions surrounding that series, so I'll hold on to them.
Gotcha.
No, go ahead and ask.
Oh, okay. Jump in, shall we?
Sorry, Sylvia said she would wake up at 6 in the morning to read it before her day started. When we did the episodes each week, I missed that. It was so fun. It was so fun. And now, you know what upsets me the most is that now Kindle Vella is a thing where it's actually built for reading episodes, and I'm like, where was this in 2014?
Right. You were ahead of the game for sure. And my question is around kind of like how you set that up, because there were so many characters and so many narratives. I'm curious about your process for writing that series, because there's so many different people going on in that series. And really nailed, like, from what I've read so far, everything is like fleshed out completely, their storyline. So
thank you.
I'm curious how did you storyboard that, or like what was that set up like for you?
It's interesting because I actually wrote Black number 4 first. That was book 1, and I wrote it, and I just fell in love with the characters so much that I was like, okay, I want to write more for them, but I don't want to start here. I want to go back a little bit, and that was the hardest part, was like going back and thinking about their stories and how they lined up in Black number 4. Sorry. She's going to be up here bugging me this whole time because now I'm talking to other people. So, I kind of knew like everything that was going to lead up to Black number 4. And then I had what happens after. So I almost had like 2 different storylines going on. And then if you read Legacy, there's a reading guide to also read Black number 4 alongside it, so that you get, because Kip and Skylar have a really intense, they have a whole story to themselves. So I tried not to spend too much time on them in Legacy, because you get so much of it in Black number 4. But I also couldn't just like not write it, because Skylar's been this kind of like free spirit doing whatever she wants with all the guys, and all of a sudden she's in love. So I had to like make sure there was a good balance. So yeah, there were really big plot points that I had known from the beginning that I couldn't wait to drop. Like, I don't want to spoil anything, but there is a really big plot twist with Jess that comes in that comes in the later books that I had known was coming forever. And so I was really excited when I finally got to drop that. And if you read Black number 4 first, Erin is the villain. She's the villain in Black number 4. And so the whole time leading up to Legacy, it's like you kind of understand what happens to her that turns her into this sort of like crazy girl that exists in Black number 4. So yeah, it was wild. But I will say I had quite a few times that I had to go back and be like, now what color were her eyes, or like when was their birthday again?
Lots of details to remember. Yeah, for sure.
But
Thank you for the question, Nicki.
Fleshed them out. You fleshed them out very well, and it's one of those things. I think sometimes what happens with like long series and when there's so many characters, I feel like some authors, all the characters kind of blend together, and that you can't really differentiate them. But with this series, like everybody had their own distinct personality. Like Bear had his own personality. I think I love them all, and I think you really did it really well.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. That means a lot to me. It's hard to do, and I think for them, after book 1, especially like between Black number 4 and then writing Rush, they all just felt so visceral to me. Like they were like my actual friends. So when I started writing for Jess, it was a completely different vibe than when I was writing for sweet little Cassie, you know, like completely different. And even the guys, like, you know, there's Adam is a completely different personality from Bear. So,
Yes.
it was really cool to see them come to life that way, and to see that because 7 characters is a lot to follow, and we're so used to just having to keep up with 2 and maybe like some side characters. So it really excited me when people started to like be like, oh, I can't wait to find out what happens with Bear, or like, no, I'm really digging Ashley. And every character almost has like their own season where you're really tuned into them, and then the other characters kind of fade behind the scenes in those seasons. And I really love that.
Well, now I have to read it.
Yes, you do.
Convincing. Is it Liesl Lizelle? She says her favorite's A Love Letter to Whiskey.
I've got to read that one.
Yeah.
Girl,
Yeah,
yes.
you do.
Yes.
I know, I'm so behind.
Alicia says,
Okay, there's a
for
question
Kandi.
for you, Kandi. Do you think?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, you're good.
Okay. All right.
I feel like I'm like lagging. I feel like I'm lagging, and then
I
we're
think you're like
getting
a couple
crossfire.
seconds behind.
Like
Just
it's like
you.
2 seconds.
Very-
Yeah.
Okay,
It's okay.
I'm
At
gonna
least you aren't
move. Yeah,
vertical.
so,
At least you
Kandi,
aren't
you
vertical.
answer the question. I'm gonna move somewhere new.
Okay.
Don't mind me.
All right.
Oh.
Do you think that releasing chapters or episodics helped build the buzz of your first few books? No. No. So my first 3 books were Tag Chaser, Song Chaser, and Black Ember 4, which I released as normal novels. But then with Palm South University, I tried the route of doing like an episode at a time. And it was really exciting for my core group of readers that already existed, like in Candyland. Like the people who were following me already were all in. And bless their hearts, I made them wait 7 years to finish that series. And they came along every step of the way. But it was hard because, like, let's be real for a minute. If a book doesn't make money, right? If it doesn't help me pay my bills, then it becomes like a passion project where it's like, yes, I'm still going to do it, but I have to also be smart about what else I'm releasing in that year. And so it was like one Palm South University book a year for a while until I hit the pandemic. And then I was like, that's it. I'm doing it. I'm finishing this series. I'm going to release the last 3 books in like 12 months, and yeah, we finished it out strong. So it was a wild ride, and I'm really glad they came along with me. But it was a hard sell to be like, hey, you're going to read 1 episode a week, you know?
Yeah.
I think I literally would have been sick because, like, when I tell you I ate these books up in like a week and a half, like I finished 1 and then I was like, okay, I feel like I should take a break. And then like I picked up book 2 and I was like, never mind.
Yes. I loved when you were tagging me with your reading updates. It made my life. I loved it. And I will say, like, it was a little bit different back then because now I feel like we all hang out sort of like on Instagram, on BookTube, on Book Talk. And back then, really the only thing we had was Facebook. And so we were on Facebook all the time. And it was all about like what groups you were in. And so every like Tuesday morning when a new episode would drop, the Palm South University group was like nuts. Like people are like, don't post spoilers. Like make sure that you wait until the end of the day. And then it was like all the theories like, oh, what do you think is going to happen with Jess? Oh my God, I can't believe what happened with Aaron. So I do miss that part of it. I think that was really fun. But I think that it was just a really specific time that I don't know that it could ever happen like that again, you know?
Because I felt so late reading the series. I was like, I feel like everybody else has read it except me. And I was like, who can I be excited with?
You can be excited with me.
You think you'd write then Kindle, what is it called? Kindle Vella? Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually talked to my agent or my rep at Kindle because I was like, I really want to take Palm South University and put them in Vella, but you can't take something that's already been published and put it there.
Okay.
Which is really unfortunate. But I think what I want to do, and I haven't announced this like literally anywhere yet, but I think I want to do a Palm South University like second installment. So a second wave of characters going to the same university with like, you know, you'll get little previews of the other characters and where they are, but it's like the new class. And obviously Bear's little brother would be the star of the show.
Yes.
So
So cool.
That's
He
fun.
was
That's
so
exciting.
Mhm.
so
You just
more on
drop
that
that
later.
just so subtly. You're like,
Yeah.
I just read that he doesn't own the sequel because of Jessica. No, I'm obsessed.
Yay.
Oh,
Yay. Oh, that's
good series.
I
awesome.
love that too.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Um,
The what he doesn't know, what he always knew, that was like, y'all, I was in my feels
oh,
with that series. I was like deep in my angsty torture feels. I remember writing the end of the second book in a coffee shop and just like tears running, like streaming down, like snot, like not cute, not cute. And I could not keep it together because it's not a spoiler alert, but like it's a love triangle. And when it came time to pick, I was like, am I doing the right thing? I don't even know.
When
I
you
wasn't
started
both.
that, did you know she was gonna pick? Because what I loved about it is I had no idea until the end of book 2 who she was gonna pick.
Yeah, I did. I had it planned that way from the beginning, but
Okay.
I almost changed my mind after writing the end of book 1 for reasons that I feel like I can't say without spoiling anything. But I will just say, like, I almost changed my mind, and then as I started writing book 2, I remembered, and I was like, no, like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna stay with the trajectory. I know where I'm going now. But it was just really hard because I loved both of the guys so much, and I feel like I felt the push and pull that Charlie felt. You know, I was
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
right there with her.
yeah, that one was so intense.
I'm not gonna lie, I was not the biggest fan of love triangles until I read a particular love triangle that occurred in the PSU series that I can't say.
Uh-huh.
But I became a fan after
Yeah.
that. I was like, no, what is this? I saw what it was turning into, and I was like, no, I hate this trope. And then I was like, dang, I kind of like this trope now.
Right? I am such a like fan for jealousy in like any capacity. But so Love Triangle just sets that up so nice. And like minor spoiler, it's not like a big plot point or anything, but there's a part in What He Always Knew where her husband walks outside and Charlie is like kissing another guy in their driveway. Oh God. And I can still feel how I felt when I was writing it, like my stomach being in knots and just like him rushing. Anyway, I love stuff like that. So I'm like, the more that I can confuse myself and the reader about like who they actually want. That's why like in I think I know which love triangle. There's a couple love triangles in Palm South University.
The one that happened towards the end.
Okay. Yeah. And that one was particularly rough because
It was.
I
messaged you and I was
immediately.
like, who is she going to pick?
yes.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
My TBR is being adjusted.
It is. I'm reworking the order I was going to read some things.
Oh my gosh.
I love
It's
it.
so interesting to know how you feel when you write it, though, when you say like how much angst you go through. And like, yeah, like I wanted to, like, when I was reading a love letter, I wanted to throw it across the room, my Kindle. I was like, and then you're just like on the other end, like writing it all in your feels too, which I guess I'm not surprised, but it's just so refreshing to hear that you're like so in your feels when you're writing it, because we're just being tortured on the other end.
Yes. And what's crazy with A Love Letter to Whiskey is I knew from the moment that I wrote it that I was going to eventually come back and write Jamie's point of view.
Mm.
And I was like, I think after about a year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it for the 5-year anniversary. So it was about, I think it was about May of last year that I was like, okay, I'm ready to start like plotting and thinking about that. So I'm going to reread A Love Letter to Whiskey. And I had not read it since I edited it, which was in 2016. And I was reading it and I just like, I went right back to who I was at that time, to what I was feeling, to every emotion that I put into it. And I could never write that book again because I'm not the same person that I was back then. And I think that's what's beautiful about any author's writing journey, right? Is that we grow as people, and so our writing grows and changes too. And so it was really cool, like getting to go back into that. And I slipped right back in, and I heard Jamie talking to me, and he was like, finally, like I have so much to say. And I was just like, it was an angsty torture fest writing his story, and it was leading right into fall. Taylor Swift was coming out with her release, like her version of the Red album. It was like everything I needed in my life. So I really felt like everything came full circle, because when I wrote it the first time, all I was listening to was the Red album, because of course. So yeah, it was really magical. I that book, I think, to me is like my crown jewel, you know, like it just, I'll never be able to write anything like it again. And I'm so glad that I took the chance and wrote it when I did. I remember beta readers and my author friends being like, you cannot end your book this way. Also, it follows no trajectory. It doesn't follow the rules. It makes no sense. You cannot publish this. And I was like, well, I am. So
and we love it.
And look at it now.
Okay, I'll read it.
Yes, do it.
You'll want to throw it across the room, but you'll enjoy the process. So
I'm messaging.
But you'll want to read Jamie's story too. So
yeah,
get your hands on that.
It's a beautiful cover.
Jamie's
too,
was my
anniversary edition
favorite.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. I don't know if y'all have listened to the audiobook or not, but the guy who did Jamie's voice.
Okay. Down.
Let's see. So there are some questions. Let's see. Would you ever consider writing a character with a disability or chronic illness, which you have?
Yes, I have. I have not written one with a chronic illness yet, and I want to. I think representation of all kinds is really important, but it's really important to me to do it, you know, respectfully and in the right way. And so I have a character in On the Way to You who has a prosthetic leg. And that was really special getting to write her story, especially because she kind of comes from a family of abuse and addiction. So she's kind of like got all the reasons in the world to be upset and sad or angry. And instead she's like this little bubbly ball of sunshine. So it was really like lovely getting to write her. And then in Say Yes, I have Harley, who has an underdeveloped hand, and she's actually a painter. And so she kind of has this obsession with wanting to be perfect, because in her mind, she's always like kind of felt like she could never be perfect. And so it was beautiful getting to like write through her emotions and everything that she felt, and also her realization of like everything that she is and has inside her that's always been there. And yeah, it was really awesome. And especially like, you know, I think it's really special having beta readers and sensitivity readers and getting to share stories with them and hear their stories and sort of, you know, find ways to bring a character who is like them to life that they may not get to see very often. And so that's something that I think is really important, and that I plan to do for as long as I'm writing ever. So yes.
Would you write I don't know, I'm so bad at character names, but in Fair Catch, the heroine's brother, would you ever write a book for him? I mean, I haven't read Untitled yet, but
yeah, I get a lot of requests for Gavin, and I would love to write Gavin's story, especially because he's such a goofball. Like he is such a goofball. And I'd really like to write him. So I would say like, I don't have any plans right at this current moment, but I cannot imagine that it will never happen. Like I'm aching to write him. A lot of people want to read it. So yes, I imagine it will come.
Most of my questions have been about Gavin from people wondering.
I love him.
Do you know any? I don't know. I know we got we know it's going to be about Holden, but I think is it Quarterback Sneak? Is it Quarterback Sneak? Okay,
it is Quarterback Sneak.
I'm excited. Do you have a release date kind of idea for that yet, or is it kind of still being written?
It is still being written, and you can blame my fiance for proposing and us going on a month-long elopement. It'll be October before it releases, but it'll be worth the wait. And the good thing about the wait is that I will have the book finished before we leave, and so it'll be the first time that if everything goes right, I will have a simultaneous audio release, which I've never had. So I'm really, really excited for that.
That's cool.
I've been intrigued with Holden since book 1, just because he's always been like the background character in Fair Catch and Blindside, who seems kind of like steady for everybody else. And I'm just like, I hope he gets a book. And then when you said Holden was gonna get a book, and I was like, yes.
Yes. And I've always wanted to write the coach's daughter trope. Like, that's just one I've been angsting to write. It's turned out a lot different than what I expected. I think in my head, I was like, oh, this is going to be like light and fun. And then I was like, who am I kidding? I know who I am. Like, so it's turned into something unexpected, but I love that. I love that about this whole series. I feel like every book and every character has kind of surprised me in a great way. And Holden, oh man, just, I can't wait. I can't wait for y'all to meet him.
I was waiting for it while reading Blindside. I'm like, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be a good bad boy.
Yeah, I'm excited for his. And sure.
No, you go right ahead. You're good.
I was just gonna say, yeah, like Holden is coming, and then oh my gosh, I'm sorry, that's my cat. She's like rubbing against my. But I'm also really excited for the last book in the series will be Leo. And I feel like Leo has kind of just been this goofy character in the background that has not had a lot of like play on screen yet. But you'll get to see a lot more of him. And his is an enemies to lovers. And yeah, and you've had little hints about what his story will be throughout the time that you probably have like just not even noticed because they've been so small. So I'm excited to like bring that full circle and have people who've read all the books be like, wait, like putting the pieces together. So I'm excited.
Now I need to go back.
Read it again.
Highlights tab.
Definitely.
Yeah, there we go, Kandi. You got me interested in Holden's story. Well, I want to know about like what books initially got you into romance, like before you were writing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have been a romance lover like my whole life, I feel like, ever since I started reading books. In fact, the first thing that ever got me into writing was in 3rd grade, and that was writing poetry about boys. I would take like my favorite songs and change the lyrics and just like stuff like that. But what really got me into independently published romance specifically was when I graduated in 2012 and I finally had time to read for pleasure again. Like, first of all, I am so impressed by all of y'all that read while you're in college. Jess, I remember you reading like a book a day when you were in college. I did not have that motivation. So when I got out of college, I was so excited to like go back to reading for pleasure. And I picked up The Wrong Game by J. Sterling. And loved it. And then that led me into The Keaton Chronicles by Gillian Dodd, which is phenomenal, by the way. If you liked Palm South University, you might also like Keaton Chronicles. It's a little younger, but it's very fun. And I think I had read like 2 of the Keaton Chronicles books when I had my idea for Tag Chaser hit me out of nowhere when I was in the shower. And I always thought, because I studied nonfiction when I was in college, and I was like, I'm going to write nonfiction books. Meh. And then I was like, maybe I'm not. And so I started writing Tag Chaser, and here we are 10 years later almost. So
wow,
crazy.
That's crazy. Cool. 32 books. Wow.
Yes.
Okay, here's another one. What book should they start with? I always recommend A Love Letter to Whiskey. I mean, I feel like that's a really good one for people to understand like your angst level too. If you have another one that you would suggest, is there something that you would suggest you start with?
This is so hard for me. I actually just did a post on Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, it's pinned at the top, but it says reading order. And basically I kind of say like, there is no order, but here's like sections. And it's like, if you like angst, go here. If you want to read my most popular books, these are it. If you want to read my favorite books, these are my favorites. if you like small town, if you like sports romance, if you want something sweet. So I would say go on there, maybe like see if a title jumps out at you, go read the blurb and go from there, because I have some of my readers love my books like The Wrong Game, The Right Player, the Becker Brothers, where it's a little bit lighter on the angst and a little more kind of fun and sweet. And then I have like my readers who like Make Me Hate You, A Love Letter to Whiskey, What He Doesn't Know, What He Always Knew, which means like they want the pain. And so like I kind of have a split personality.
Yeah. You post really good TikToks.
Yes.
Just with, you know, if you want to read this one, or, you know, and I love your stories because you post like these narratives and I feel like I'm on like this little journey with you. And then you're like, and here's the book. And you like, I don't know, it's you just like, you're like, I love it. It's like a little acting skit. It's great. I wanted to know, I'm so fascinated with like TikTok and how it's helped authors with their books. And I'm just wondering like what your take is now with the whole TikTok sensationalism with like helping with like marketing and publishing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you. First of all, I have so much fun on there. I feel like I'm one of the rare breeds of people or self-published authors where I love social media. So I love doing stuff like this. I love being on Instagram and on TikTok and Twitter and just everywhere that I can be. A little too much sometimes. Sometimes I have to force myself to get off so I can go right. But TikTok is really interesting. I fought that one. I just, in my head, I was like, TikTok is like teenagers who are not going to read my books. And so I don't really need to be there. And then it was February of last year that I was like, you know, everyone's talking about TikTok and I just really want to check it out. I love social media. Let me see what's on there. And I found Book Talk like immediately. And people were like, oh, you're here. We've been waiting for you. and it was so fun. And I was sucked right in. And then in April, I did a TikTok where I pretended like I was Gemma from The Wrong Game. And so I was like, oh, so I have season tickets to my favorite football team. And I decided to put it in my dating profile and whatever. And I used like real footage that I have from my season tickets for the Buccaneers. And it went viral, which I didn't even know this was a thing that could happen on TikTok. And so I woke up the next day and had like 3 million views. And I was like, what is happening? And my book was in the top 20. It was crazy. It got all the way up to the top 5 with that one, which was the highest rank that book had ever had. And so it was like this whole new influx of readers. And last year was like the best year of my career. And I 100% attribute that to people discovering me from Book Talk, from readers who had read me and were posting about my books, from me being there talking about my books. It was like access to a whole new group of like a whole new audience that just I didn't have access to before. And it's beautiful and amazing and I love it. I don't get viral TikToks anymore. My TikToks don't get served very much, but I still love being there and I still love making them. And I really, really love the Book Talk community. I think they get about, you know, there are some bad apples in the bunch. Like I know there's the thing going around. There's some book talkers who are advocating that like, oh, did you know you can buy a book and then return it? And that's obviously terrible. And I don't advocate for that, but the community that I have surrounded myself in on Book Talk is all like lovely and beautiful and everyone's supporting each other and having fun. So I just kind of try to keep like engaging with people who have that kind of content, you know, so that I can stay there in my little safe bubble.
Your work does not go unnoticed. I love the amount of effort you put into your videos. And I think that's so genius, taking your own footage and then just like telling us a story. And it's such a good win.
Thank you.
It really is.
I try to do them and I look like a weirdo. I'm like,
yes.
not for me.
Such a rookie.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. I do. I mean, I've put up some stuff that makes me cringe sometimes, but I'm like, whatever. I had fun with it. It's fine. Like
that's all that matters. Yeah.
So,
on
Facebook. Of your content, so I know one of the characters in the PSU series, I think Ashley does like pole dancing fitness. Were you doing like pole dancing fitness like way back then when you wrote Ashley's character?
No.
Wow.
I was not. So I feel like this was a premonition or something. I was not doing anything. And I actually remember calling a studio in Orlando and interviewing a pole dancer because I wanted to know, like, what's the competition like? Like, what? I wanted to write the drama with, like, I don't think this is very spoilery. It happens pretty like early on in the series, but there's like some drama between the studio owner, some of the students at the studio, as well as like a strip club owner. And so I wanted to really be careful with how I represented that, because I am a supporter of sex work, and like anybody who wants to do that, I think it's amazing, and I advocate for them. So I didn't want to write it in a way that made it like terrible, but she was like, no, but things like this actually happen, and I think this is a smart way to write it, and here's all my advice and everything like that. And then it was 2018 was the first time that I went and like actively took a pole dance class, and I was like, wow, I'm obsessed with this. And now here I've been doing it for over 4 years now, and it's completely changed my life. And actually, sneak peek, but Julep, who is Holden's love interest, she is a pole dancer.
Oh,
yeah. You'll get some more of that.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so when we have like a meet and greet, let's go pole dancing.
Okay, listen. I'm gonna try to talk Colleen Hoover into letting me do a beginner pole dance class at next year's Book Bonanza. I'm gonna make it happen. I will bring stage poles and just be like, if anybody wants to learn beginner tricks, I will do 5 hours of classes. I don't care how long it takes. Like I am so about it. And I just feel like Colleen will be like, yeah, whatever. Like,
oh my gosh, she'd be such a riot. I would be there for the vibes 100%. Like, I'm just gonna stand here.
Oh, that's so
I want to read.
Okay, so yeah, a lot of people have discovered you through books.
Yeah, hi Asparagus. Asparagus has been with me. I've been live like 7 times in the past week, and Asparagus has been there like every time. I love it.
Oh,
they are.
Posts are positive, interesting.
Thank you.
Oh look, Crystal.
Yes.
Sign me up for the whole Crystal.
I just think it would be so fun. I think it'd be a blast.
It would.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about like what your writing process is like, just for people who are interested? I know I've had a lot of like during author interviews too, people wondering like for new writers, people who are aspiring to be writers, and then like how you do it. Like what's your day look like? I know you kind of posted a video today, like a reel of
I did.
A day in the life of an author, which is cute.
Yeah, it was fun. That was fun. Yeah, so every day looks different for me, but my writing process, I guess the best way to break it down would be like the stages that I go through with each book. So every book kind of like starts as just whispers in my head. And Jess, I feel like I talked to you about this in Sarasota, but like I will like frantically write things in the notes app on my phone as things start talking to me. So like every book that has ever been written started with like a piece of dialogue or a scene that I saw, or like an idea that I had where I was like, oh, what if this happens? And then slowly but surely, one idea will start to speak louder than the rest. And so I start paying attention to it. I kind of pluck it out of the field of flowers and put it in front of me. And that's when I start to break down my characters. It's always characters first for me. By the time I start moving into plotting, I want to feel like I know my characters so well that like if I had to pretend to be them, that I could be put in any situation and act exactly how they would act in that situation, which is really helpful to me when I am writing a book and I get in like if I write myself into a corner, or I kind of like hit a point where I don't know what's happening in the story, I can very easily say, well, what would they be doing? Or what's something? Oh, well, of course she loves gardening, so she would be gardening right now. That she'd be working through her feelings and gardening and thinking about things. Okay, done, I'm in. So I will like break down like what's their Enneagram number, what's their zodiac sign, like what's their background, their inner conflict, their outer conflicts, like everything. And then from there, I kind of grab the notes that I have in my phone, and I plug in like, what are my major plot points? What are my major dialogue scenes that I've seen? Where do they fit in the story? And then I start to fill in the gaps. And I used to kind of just stop there and go for it. Like A Love Letter to Whiskey, I did not have anything plotted other than I saw when he showed up with the invitation. I'm trying not to get spoilerly. I saw the bonfire. I saw the beach. like, you know, it was just like these little things that I saw happen. There's a bathtub scene when she's on her own, but they're on the phone, like things like that I just saw. And and I was like, okay, fill in the gap time. And I just kind of went for it. But now, again, growing as a writer and as a person, as a professional, I am very structured now. So I have like outlines and I know kind of exactly where things are going to go. And for me, that's a lot more, I feel like my writing has grown a lot because now I'm not kind of scrambling and writing all over the place. I have more of like a streamlined process. And so when I sit down to write every day, I know exactly what I'm writing and I'm just excited to get in there and get going, as opposed to being like, what am I gonna write today? You know? So
that's cool. You almost like use method, like almost like an actor would, like method tactics in your writing. That's really cool.
Yes. Yes. And nice. and then I write chronologically, even if I've seen those like other scenes play out first. I write chronologically, and then as I'm writing, I have this group of readers called my alpha readers, and basically they read as I write. So every 10,000 words or so, I send it to them. And they are so important because they are really good at letting me know early on if I have an issue with a character or a plot point, or if the book is not interesting, which is the number one thing. As I'm like, did I grab you in this first 10,000 words? Because if not, most people have already DNF'd and moved on, you know? So my openings are like where I spend the most of my time. They take me the longest time. They're the slowest to write, and they get the most of my attention because I know if I can get you into that 10,000 words, then I've invested you in my characters enough to like figure out what happens next. And then at the end, when my rough draft is done, I send it to my beta readers. So my beta readers have not read anything up until this point. They get the entire rough draft manuscript, and they give me all the big feedback of like plot, characters, anything they hated, anything they really liked. And they're so smart because they will tell me what I will see in bad reviews before I see it. So they'll be like, I know that you explained why this character did this, but I still hated it. But I understood it, but I still hated it. And I'm like, okay, well, if I explained it enough to where you understand why the character did this, it's okay that you hate it. I'm okay with bringing out bad emotions in my readers. I'm okay with them not liking every character that I write, as long as you don't hate them because I didn't write it well. That I can't, you know, then I've got to do some work.
Right.
Yeah. So then I do a big edit, that's when I do all my big edits of making sure it's like, it's everything that it could be. Then it goes to my editor. She does another edit pass, sends it back to me. I apply all her edits, and then it goes out into the world to my advanced readers.
Wow. Dang.
I'm sitting
on so easy. I know. I was like, you you answered that just with grace. Like, this is how it's done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, there's a question on where do you find alpha and beta readers?
That's a great question. A lot of them have been with me for a long time, like throughout the years. Like for instance, Jess's friend Sarah, we met and we clicked very, very easily. And she also is a writer and she's an avid reader. And so she was like, I would love to beta read for you. And I was like, sold, you're in. I will give almost anybody a shot, as if they come to me and they say, hey, I'm really good at catching things and I have a really critical like way of looking at books. I'll give them a shot. There's been a lot who I've let come on for one book who have not made it to another. And it's not because I didn't love having them there. It's just that I need an equal balance of two types of beta readers. The first type is like Sarah, where she is critical. She is constantly looking for something to tell me like, hey, this could be better. Here's why. This part felt off. I understand what you're trying to do with this character, but you didn't hit it. And here's some things to fix, right? Like she's thinking like that. And then I have what I call my hair petting betas who are like, oh my God, Kandi, you write nothing but glitter and butterflies and everything is lovely and you are amazing. And I have to have the equal balance of both because my ego is so tender. It always has been. And so if I have too many of the critical, instead of having the mindset where I'm like, okay, let me digest this and think about how to fix it. And then I find a solution and I make the book better. If there's too much criticism, then I just break down and say, I suck. I'm never going to write again. You know?
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot.
Well, I will say, oh, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's really hard. I mean, anybody who's ever tried to write or create something knows how hard it is to do that and then to get the guts to share it with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started writing, I did not want to listen to anybody who said that it sucked in any way. That's why I cringe when people read like Tag Chaser or Song Chaser, even like Black Number 4 and Rush, because those are my first 4 books, and I did not take beta feedback seriously. I was just like, I wrote the book, it's perfect, and it's getting published. And now that I understand how important feedback is, I get excited to be like, okay, this is a problem. How do I fix it? And there's nothing like getting the book to the end stage and seeing how much better it was than the rough draft and just being like, oh, I did the really hard thing and I edited, you know?
I like Crystal's comment.
That sounds so satisfying.
It is. It definitely is. What you say. You don't have to like a character's action, but it needs to feel true to the character. Precisely. You know, I will say B from A Love Letter to Whiskey, she gets so much shit. There are so many people. Oh, am I allowed to curse on here? I didn't even ask.
Yeah,
sorry.
You're good. You're good.
She gets a lot of flack because, and I personally, this is my opinion on it, and I'm sure that there are other reasons, but my personal opinion on it is that I wrote her in a time when a lot of the female main characters were sort of like, I will do anything for this guy. If he shows me any attention, I am in, and I love him, and I will move to the ends of the earth for him. And it's usually the guy who's sort of aloof and broody and whatever. So in A Love Letter to Whiskey, Jamie, even though she's stupid and can't see it, Jamie falls first. And B is like very focused on like, first she's being a good friend and is like, I will not cross that line. Then she's being a good girlfriend and was like, I will not cross that line. Then she has some family stuff happens and she's like, my priorities are here. And then she prioritizes her education and her career and what she wants to do over just staying where he is because she wants to be with him. And people were like, why? Like, she could have just been with him at this point. And I'm like, she could have, but then she would have had to sacrifice what she wanted individually. And any woman who has done that for a man guaranteed has been bit in the ass at least a couple times and knows what it feels like to have that not play out, right? So I know that she frustrates people, but I love her. Yeah, so that's why my, you know, when people ask me what my brand is, I'm like, I don't know, but one thing I can tell you for sure is that I write real fucked up, flawed characters who you will probably hate as much as you love.
Beautiful.
Hurts so good.
And we love them. We love them.
Here's another. What's one you're excited to write about in the future?
What's one story? Well, I'm really loving writing. Yeah, I was gonna say I'm really loving writing Holden right now. Like, I think him and Julep have like my undivided attention at this moment. But I'm super excited for the hockey series. This is one of the instances where I have like note after note after note in my phone because I just keep having ideas for the different characters and the setup and the plot twists and everything. And I'm just like writing down frantically what I want to happen. So I know that by the time I wrap this football series, I'm just going to be like head first into the hockey series. And I'm super stoked for that.
Oh, that's exciting. I can't wait for that one.
Like, and if we can have some baseball.
Maybe.
Cheyenne.
Maybe.
She's got to ask.
It's the pants. I know. It's so funny because I actually played softball for like 7 years and I loved it. But for some reason, as a fangirl, baseball like does it the least for me. Like, I would almost rather watch golf. Like, so I would. So I know. So I would have to really like, I love going to the Rays games. You know what I think? Okay, here's also, and anybody who follows me on social media, I'm very open with like my personal life and stuff, but I dated a guy who worked for the New York Yankees for a while. And so maybe that's what burns me off of baseball. So I'm just like, don't care.
Yeah. Bye, honey. I'm done with this baseball stuff. Yeah. They're just, it's just the pants. It's the pants for me.
It's the pants.
Oh God, I just can't.
I've seen that from your stories. I love those pants.
I'm obsessed with the Braves. I'm obsessed.
Okay, Cheyenne, tell you what.
So freaking fun.
Cheyenne, start sending me your muses so that I can start getting inspired, and maybe we can make a baseball book happen.
Okay.
She's got a Pinterest
stand
board
and
like
watch.
in the wings.
She's gonna start
I'll be a beta
tonight.
reader.
Perfect. Sold.
Okay, let's see. Here's another one right here. Hearing about the writing process is so interesting. Yes, I agree with that.
Hair petting feedback is so important. Like sometimes when I'm sending to my alpha readers, I'll be like, okay, let me know if you have any questions or if anything's not clicking, but also feel free to let me know if you like love something. Like, here's my phone number. Like people will, when I send out advanced copies, or when a book goes live, like Blindside, for instance, I'll get inevitably, I almost said inherently, I'm a writer. Inevitably, I will get somebody who messages me and says like, oh, I'm sorry for bugging you, but like, oh my God, I loved this part. And I'm like, please tell me more. Are we best friends? Like, yes, I want to go through this whole process with you. Please let me relive it and tell me that you enjoy what I spent months and hours and, gray hairs creating. Yes, thank you.
Well, and I think for Blindside, outside of like just how good it was, I really liked that. Can you hear me?
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. I think I really liked that Gianna was like super into romance books and reading. So it almost felt like I was like reading about myself, because it's like I'm reading a romance book about a heroine who loves romance books. And I was like, this is kind of cool.
Yes. And I loved that, like, she would like, there's a scene where she's like reading it and like really getting into it. And then she like kicks a bowl of Cheetos off the bed. That's a fun fact that actually happened to me when I was like 24, 25. And so I had to write into a book. It had to happen. So anytime I see somebody posting a picture where the Cheetos are involved, I'm like, if you know, you know. So Ashley, go Bolts.
So I saw you posted today also how amazing Blindside is doing in the charts, which is amazing, 2 weeks out. Why do you think this book is doing that well? Because you said your books haven't done that well in a long time. New release.
Yeah. I have a lot of theories, but I really don't know. I mean, I think the guy on the cover with the eyebrow is a very big pull. So here's the thing. I think the readers that I have access to, book talkers and bookstagrammers, actually don't like it. Right. Like, and so I think there's a lot of talk into authors' ears. Like, we want discrete covers. We want, illustrated covers. Right. Which I love them both. But what we call as authors, we call invisible readers, are the readers who are not on social media, who go to Amazon and pick their books based off covers. They will 9 times out of 10 pick the hot guy. Right. And I don't typically do the hot guy on my covers. Like, Palm South University are hot guys, and Washed Up is a hot guy, and every other book that I have is a couple. Yes, Greg, Dr. Daddy.
Dr. Daddy.
So I think that was part of it. And I think the advanced copies, when they went out, there were some people like talking about it on Book Talk and on Bookstagram that I think got people excited, because they found these little like hook pieces to put in videos that I think people were like, wait a second, what is that? I want to read it. And I also think that like this is my spiciest book that I've written. I really just kind of like went all in, and I think that makes a difference. I feel like I'm usually more like plot focused than I am spice focused, and this one, it was almost like the spice was part of the plot. It was a big part of the plot. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things, and I am just like, I'm so thankful. I know to me, I'm like, God, do I sound cheesy and repetitive? But I feel like I'm like overflowing with gratitude, because being in this career for as long as I have been, I know how special and rare something like this happening is. Like, I think there are definitely some authors that every book they publish goes to #1, but I am not one of them. And so when this happens for me, I am just like, I soak up every second. I thank every person who posts and every person who shares, because it means so much to me. And I feel like I have like all these little connections all over the world and I don't know, I'm like getting choked up, but it's so cool. It's
I
so
was gonna
cool.
say I want to cry.
It's so cool.
No, but
so
that's why people want to read your books too.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
well,
Because
it's
you
well,
can see
it is
your
well
authenticity.
deserved.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Your heart shows 100%. 100%.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
Thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
I just want to be who I am and never lose sight of that. And I think it's easy to do, you know, as life goes on. I will say, like, you know, I definitely, when I wrote Fair Catch, it was the first time I think I let my hopes get high in a way that almost like hurt me a little bit. This is very vulnerable. And I feel really weird talking about this, so please don't judge me. But like, I loved this book so much. I loved these characters, and I was like, this is the book. This is the book that is going to just like blow up, and I can just feel it, and it's in my bones. And I went into that release, and it was the first time that I ever like expected something where I was like, it's going to hit top 100. I know that people are going to read it and love it and be talking about it, and I'm so excited, and this is the one. And then it released, and it didn't hit top 100, and it didn't do the things that I thought it was going to do. And it was heartbreaking, but it was also a really great reminder to me of like the fact that it doesn't matter for me how a release does, even if it hurts or even if it does amazing, I'm always going to be here writing. It's always going to be a release that's in my backlist, and that somebody somewhere is going to write to me and say, I read this book and I loved it. Right. And so that
I've been talking about that for months.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And it put me in this very peaceful, present mindset as I went into writing Blindside, because I was sort of like, I don't care what this book does. I don't care if nobody else reads it. I am writing this book for me. And what I want to read is a sexy, fake dating, football sports romance where she's a virgin and he teaches her how to do things. And I'm going to do it. And so I did.
You honestly, and that's like what you're shared, like your words and stuff is spoken like a true artist, though. You have to believe in yourself. So, you know, that's really beautiful what you just said. So
thank you. Yeah. Well, and I think like, you know, there's a lot of like, I'm sorry, I'm so talkative. If you guys ever want to move on to another question, please tell me.
Well, I have a question that kind of segues, but it won't change the subject. I just kind of want to know, like what you just said. It's so vulnerable, and it's a huge testament to who you are. So who are you when you're not writing?
Oh,
yeah,
I love that.
What do you do in your spare time? Like who is Kandi on a day that she doesn't write?
Tell us about Jack.
Yeah, I will tell you all about Jack all day long. You know, I am a 7. So anybody who knows Enneagram, I feel like that can kind of give you an idea. I love to kind of like get lost and go travel and see new things and have new experiences in my life. And I especially love doing those things with people I love. So I think like I get a lot of comments about my friend characters that I write, my supporting characters, and they're like, oh, I love this character. And I love when people are like, are you ever going to write a book for them? Because then I know that I wrote a side character that really like meant something and stood out. But I'm able to write those because I am surrounded by so many amazing friends and people who love me and that I love. And of course I have Jack. So I love spending time with Jack, and he's an adventure bug too and loves to go. So we just like to kind of pick things to do. Here's a perfect example. Last month we decided to go down to this place. It's a part of Tampa, but it's called Ybor City. And Ybor City is known for being like nightlife. So like anyone who lives in Tampa, it's like you go down to Ybor to go out. There's a lot of really fun, like there's like concert venues, there's gay clubs, there's bars. Like it's so fun. It's a blast. But we had never gone and like really done the historic part of Ybor. And so we spent like a whole day going to like the oldest like Colombian cafe there. And we went and kind of got an idea for the Cuban heritage and the Italian heritage and the German heritage that was all kind of centered around there back when Tampa was an industrial hub. And we were just geeking out. Like he's a big history buff and I'm just like, wow, new things. So it was super fun.
Cool.
And I pole dance. I mean, yes, Novel Life says Ybor City is amazing. It definitely is. And yeah, I pole dance almost every day. I'm either doing pole or I'm at the gym. I think like I especially discovered during the pandemic that like having some sort of physical release is very important for me mentally. And so I walk every morning. I love to stretch. I like to, when I am doing pole stuff, I can't think about anything else other than breathing and gripping on for dear life. Like, where is my arm? Where is my hand? Where is my leg? And it's such a release for me. And then it like almost like clears the slate. So that the next morning when I wake up and it's time to write again, I'm like fresh and ready to go, if that makes sense. So I love that. And I love live music and I love music in general. So I feel like I don't share a lot because I would get annoying. But if if my account wasn't all books, I would probably have a music account where I would just like talk about artists that I love and music that I love. And I have a very eclectic taste, so I listen to all kinds of crazy stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit of every character of my books that you've ever read.
Very good.
That's amazing. Caitlin and I live in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Where are y'all at? Wait, Cheyenne, where are you in North Florida? Where are you at?
No, Central. So like near Brevard.
Gotcha.
I'm up here near the Capitol.
Nice. Tally, baby. Jack is a Knowles, so he would be in here like, go Knowles.
I'm with Jack.
I love it.
Okay, here's a question. Out of all the couples in your stories, which is your favorite?
Oh, that's so hard. That's so hard. I have a lot. I mean, I think one of my favorites is Cooper from On the Way to You. I just love her, and she, I think, will always stand out to me because when I wrote this book, I was kind of getting into like minimalism. And so if you read this, Emery kind of has like, he's kind of a minimalist and he's sort of like, opening her mind to some different things. And that was what was happening for me at that time in my life too, which is kind of, I had just gotten divorced and I left like almost all my possessions behind when everything happened. And I had like this clean slate, and what I thought I was going to miss was all my things, and I didn't miss my things at all. And so I really liked kind of exploring that with her, like the idea of just abandoning everything that's safe and comfortable and sort of going headfirst into something new and exciting. And also I love to travel, right? So writing that book from the viewpoint of a girl who grew up and stayed in a small town in Alabama, and suddenly she's seeing mountains and canyons and snow and just all kinds of things for the first time. That was really special. So she really stands out to me. And as for my male characters, like, I just feel like Jamie is so elite in my mind. Like, he just like kind of owns me. Like, I feel like Jamie almost comes out in all the male characters that I write in different ways. Like he's just always speaking in my ear. So sometimes I'll write something and I'm like, wait, was that Clay or was that Jamie? Like, I don't really know yet. But I will say, like, and I wrote this a little bit when I was promoting for Fair Catch. Fair Catch and Blindside, like, they have truly taken me by surprise. And I think they're some of my best work. I think they're two stories that I'm the most proud of. And definitely like my favorites probably since I've written On the Way to You. And that's like, I love Close Quarters. I love Make Me Hate You. Say Yes. Like there's so many of my book babies that I adore. But this series just feels different. And I think it's because I started as a new adult writer, and I've written about people, about characters at different ages and different times in their life, but there's something so special to me about writing like college age or like new adult romance, because you're not just like falling in love with someone else, you're also kind of like falling in love with yourself, and you're also like breaking down, like we start to kind of figure out where our trauma came from when we're at this age, right? So like I love writing. Yep. Like I loved writing when Zeke and Riley had to go through a lot of stuff with like how they felt about themselves and how they felt about their family, and just like, you have Riley trying to like break the mold and like stand on her own in a male dominated industry, and you have Zeke dealing with all this guilt and also trying to like overcome it and be okay on the other side. And then with Clay and Gianna, like Gianna has a lot of family trauma that she almost is just like disengaged from. Like she's just like, well, it is what it is. I'm the middle child. I'm kind of forgotten about it. It's fine. Right. But then you have Clay, you have Clay, who's the complete opposite. He is so tied into his family, and it's so important to him. So I really loved like writing their juxtaposition as well. And having like, you know, I have my family battles with addiction in a lot of different ways. And so writing Clay's story was very personal and like hard, but also therapeutic. And I think important, like a lot of people have messaged me and said, like, I've never seen this represented in this way. And this is exactly what I've been through. I know exactly how Clay feels about like just taking care of his mom and having to be there and having to say yes and feeling like if he doesn't do it, nobody will. And interestingly enough, that's the part of the book that the people who like have given it a lower rating, like a 1 or 2 star, that's the part they hated, was everything that happened with his family. So I feel like, you know, it's one of those things like you either love it or hate it. You're either like, just give me the plot and the spice and I don't need any of this stuff over here. Or you're like, I love that I walked away feeling seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like
No,
you do
that's
a
so
good job
good.
of that. You do a good job of the blending with the light and the fun, but with the emotional stuff as well. Because I'm somebody who likes the emotional stories.
Me too.
Because of like my own background, I like the emotional stuff, and I think you do a good job with that. Because like, yes, the PSU series, for example, was light and fun, but we have all these deeper like trigger warning topics that happen that are very real and I think should be talked about. And I think you did them well. I think you did it in Washed Up with Amanda's character, who I personally related to. But like their story was still light and fun, but there was also the emotional elements that I think you just do a good job of, like the storytelling part of it without it feeling bogged down. It's a good balance.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah, and I think yours are a good mix of like of slow burn too, but not like too slow where you don't get, I mean, it's not like instant satisfaction, you know, like you're not instantly satisfied, but it's drawn out enough. Like I think of Close Quarters, especially because of how Theo is saying like, I'm not going to touch you, you know, if you're still with him, or like, you know, I don't even want to go there. So the temptation is there and you're waiting for it to happen, but you don't have to wait forever. And that makes it like even more, I don't know. There's just so many books that are so insta love and insta lust, and you do a really great balance of that.
Oh, thank you.
You definitely take the time to like set the characters up and like let us go on the journey with them while they explore their feelings, which is I think is like super unique, and it's very important, especially in romance, obviously, but you really take the time to make us emotional, just like you're
yeah. Well, I think that's like that's a big part of it for me too, right? Like I love writing the romance, but I also love writing the individual characters and what they're kind of going through, because I feel like in order to truly fall in love, you have to kind of deal with your own shit too. And so like, yes, there may be like I hate to call it this because it's not, but it's like we have the fluffy obstacle in the way, if that makes sense. Like the fluffy obstacle is that we're fake dating and we're making other people jealous. But the real obstacle is like I have a lot of deep rooted like family things going on, and you know, you have never experienced love, so there's a part of you that wonders if it's real other than in books, right? So you're questioning like how could I ever make anybody jealous? How could I make Malia jealous? How do I make this cheerleader jealous, being like the little shy bookworm that I am? So it's like the individual stories and then also like the coming together. And what I loved, what surprised me the most with Blindside, was I didn't expect Clay to be so vulnerable, and for Gianna to be like, let me distract you, like use me.
I love that part.
Yeah.
It like surprised me in the best way, man.
I really appreciate
like when she chose to just jump in his arms.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just gonna do it this time. I'm not gonna tell you that it's happening. Yeah.
Yes.
He was just like turning into such like his fierce protector. Like she was really like just stepping up for him. And I'm just like, man, I'm gonna cry now.
Yes.
So good. It's so good.
I love it. Oh, thank you, Heather. By the way, I saw your comment. That's amazing. There are two really big compliments to me, I feel like, that outweigh everything. And one of them is that if I'm an auto-buy author where like you don't even read the blurb, you just like trust me and go in. And the other one is a book hangover. Like this is so sick. This is so sick, but I love when someone messages me and it's like, I haven't read anything since Blindside. I've just reread it 4 times in the past 2 weeks. I'm like, that's awesome. Love it.
Love that for you.
Okay, so let's talk about that though. Like, what are some authors or some books that you love, or like maybe you would want to co-write with? Is there any that would interest you? I know you're super close with Elsie and all that, so I'm sure that's thought.
Oh man, it's interesting. I have come close to writing, like co-writing with a lot of people. So Brittany Cherry and I wrote a poetry book together. We have a very similar style, and so like we actually have about 40,000 words of a book written that is a like young adult dystopian book. I don't know if we will ever finish it. I have no idea.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. Wild.
Yeah.
Why dystopian?
Yeah. It's really cool. But I just like I've enjoyed the process with her. I know Gianna Darling and I have like flirted with the idea of writing together.
Stop it.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I love the like what we have plotted out. We talked about maybe revisiting it next year, so we'll see. And as far as authors that I love that I like would recommend to everybody, I mean, I think you guys have probably heard me talk about it, but the Thoughtless series by S.C. Stevens is one I will like throw at everybody because I just think it's epic. And I also
your book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was like, you're breaking the fourth wall. This is really crazy.
I had to write Kellen Kyle in too. I had to. And like, I mean, obviously y'all know I'm besties with Stacey Hart. And so I don't really typically like rom-coms, but I fucking love hers. And so the fact that she got me to ever like a rom-com to me is like such a big statement of her writing abilities. And then I love like Jessica Hawkins, obviously Brittany Cherry, Alessandra Torre. She is so slept on. I feel like Alessandra Torre is so slept on, and she is such a genius, like brilliant writer. I say slept on. She's like a New York Times bestseller, but I feel like not enough people talk about it.
Yeah. Moonshot is so good.
That's one of my favorites.
Moonshot. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, so I have so many that I love. I'm on A Court of Silver Flames right now, so I just have such an appreciation for Sarah J. Maas and like the world she created and the fandom she created. So she's currently my girl crush. So yeah.
Nice.
Good. Those are good ones. Does anybody have any other questions? We don't have.
I was gonna ask.
Yes,
you
go ahead.
mentioned 1 and 2 star reviews, and I know authors sometimes ignore those, sometimes look at them. I think I've seen you mention it before. You actually do read your 1 and 2 star reviews.
I do. I can guarantee if there's a 1 or 2 star review on my books, I have probably read it. At least on Amazon. I don't always find them on Goodreads. They're a little bit harder because like when I go on Goodreads, there's so much going on and I'm usually kind of distracted. But especially advanced reader copies and especially in like the first week of my book, I'm really watching reviews. And I will be honest, the main reason that I watch them so closely in that time period is like, is there something I missed? Is there something I missed that I need to catch? And I learned lessons. I learned lessons from my 1 star and 2 star reviews. One lesson I learned that just like is so prevalent for me two. I'm going to tell 2 stories. So the first one's a little bit lighter. I wrote Neat, and Neat is book 2 in the Becker Brothers series. And I love this book. But something that I was tone deaf with is that Mallory is kind of like this rebellious character, but she says a couple times, and so does Noah or Logan, says something along the lines of like, oh, she's just not like other girls, in not so many words, right? And I had this 1 star review like tear me down for it. Like, this is like what, she's not like other girls because she has piercings and tattoos and short hair or whatever, and she's an artist. There's plenty of girls like that. And I was like, you're so right.
Yeah.
It's just to Logan in this small town where everyone is sort of similar, he felt like she stood out, and there are many other ways to say that. And so I have since then like corrected myself, and I've learned from that lesson, and I've moved forward. Another 1 star review that I saw that was on the Palm South University series. I have learned so much as a writer. I have also learned so much as a white person in the past 10 years of my life. And I very much misrepresented Bo when I first wrote her. I just, in a way, it wasn't malicious. It was not something I intentionally did, but I talked about her eyes being almond shaped. I very much like sexualized her being Asian, an Asian American. And I was so thankful to this 1 star reviewer for taking the time to educate me and let me see where that was wrong. And I went back through and edited it and tried my best to make it a better representation and to take anything that was offensive out, because I don't think we should ever as writers just let something be just because, oh, well, no one said anything and it's been out for 7 years. Who cares? One person tells me that I've offended them and I'm listening. So I definitely read my 1 and 2 star reviews, even when they're hard to read. You know?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah. Hit me.
So outside of, I guess I feel like I know what your signings are for 2022, but do you have any idea of like signings you're going into next year for people thinking about it? I know you said Book Bonanza, but do you have any idea of 2023 signings you're thinking of going to?
So the only one I have committed to so far is in Banff, and it's the Authors Invade the Canadian Rockies. I have never. Yeah,
I'll go to Banff. I lived in Banff.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've never done a signing in Canada, and I have been asked so many times, and so I really wanted to do one there. I'm hoping that I'll get accepted to Book Bonanza. I did apply, so we'll see. And honestly, those might be the only 2 that I do next year, only because, you know, I'm getting married and Jack and I are travel bugs, and there's so much that we want to do, and we kind of have like our 5-year bucket list, and it's really hard to also fit in book signings along with everything else. Like, you know, we want to do the PCH, we want to do DC, we have all kinds of places that we want to go and things we want to do. So I think moving forward, my goal is really to try to keep my signings to like 2, maybe 3 a year. So you'll have to come see me in Banff.
I know.
We're coming to you.
Hopefully you'll be at Book Bonanza. Because I'm going to Book Bonanza.
You're welcome anytime, any of you guys. The Rocky Mountains welcome you.
I will also say, if you guys, if anybody follows me or is in my group in Candyland on Facebook, Facebook, and for anybody who doesn't know, is this ancient social media platform where, no, just kidding. But anyway, I am still on Facebook, and in Candyland, every now and then we do like a Tampa event. So anybody who lives in Florida and wants to come hang out, it's usually like me, Marnie Mann, Catherine Andrews, Hazel. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking right now? Hazel James. No. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking. Anyway, there's a lot of us that kind of live in this area, and so we'll just do like, hey, we're gonna go hang out at Armature Works for 3 hours. If you want to come hang, you can. And so we've done that off and on for like 5 years. So if you're in there and you live in Florida or have dreams of coming to Florida, yeah.
No, you were one of the nicest authors in Nashville. You were like so sweet.
Oh, thank you. I'm just so excited. I'm like, you came to my table? Like, hi. Who are you? Tell me your life story. Like when Jess and I met, and Sarah was there, like we hung out like the whole after party, and we're like taking pictures on the beach, and it was fun. Core memory.
Oh, core memories are the best.
Okay, so it looks like we have one more question. What was the last book you read that gave you a hangover?
That gave me a hangover? Man, I'm on the Sarah J. Maas kick, and when I finished A Court of Mist and Fury, I was just broken for other books for a long time. So that was my last.
I still haven't read that.
I haven't either. That means you need to read it now.
I haven't either.
It is so good. I remember like, I don't know if I can do this without being spoilery, but I did a TikTok where I was reading the first book, and I was like, guys, I think there's something wrong with me, because I think I like the bad guy, and everyone was like, just keep reading, and I was like, oh god, okay.
Okay, well now I really gotta read it.
Same.
I have the audiobook. I've been saying this for months that I was gonna read it, and then I just keep pushing it back even more.
Well, now I got all these Kandi books I need to catch up on, so that might be what I'm doing next month.
You know,
I know you need to start with On the Way to You.
I will start with that.
You have now entered your Kandi Steiner era. Oh, thank you, Daphne. I hope you love it. Chapter 55. Yes.
Chapter 55.
Oh, epic.
Okay, so does anybody have any more questions in the comments?
This was so fun, y'all. Thank you so
answered
much.
so many like questions that I would have asked anyways. It's great.
Yeah.
Very well spoken.
Oh, thank you. I love to do
But we
this.
can talk. We can talk to you after, Kandi.
Yes. Yes. Sounds
So
good.
stay on. Well, thank you for everybody in the comments. Thank you guys for joining and hanging out with us. We're just so glad you could be here. And thank you, Kandi. It's been amazing. This is like fangirl over here. Loving you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love it.
Make sure you guys check out and read Blindside. It's available on
Yes.
KU, and leave a good review.
Yes, yes.
All right, guys.
Or
We'll see you later.
leave a 1 star and say, Kandi, I love you. Just kidding. It was 5 stars, and I'll see it for sure.
Okay, see you later, guys.
Bye.